Welcome back to the Triple Play Podcast. I'm Colby. That's Nick. As you notice, changed the background for football season. I had a viewer send me a message. Said, "Well, I'm just telling you, it's football season, so you should have a football background." I ain't gonna name names, but here we are
And I love
today.
how you say that with a Braves World Series shirt on.
Hey, listen, the Braves are playing right now and they're getting the job done. So I
And
had
well,
to.
Elder's about to blow it, like always. So
No. Listen, all right, time out. I'll go put my Baker Mayfield jersey on from last year. All right, but welcome back. I want to start the show, Nick, by mentioning a little wager. A little wager that
okay,
me and
okay.
Okay, Nick, do you want to lay the groundwork for him about what
Okay,
we were
yeah.
talking about?
Okay, so Colby is a certified hater of DJ Moore. I'm not. I'm a DJ Moore truther because that man had the worst quarterback room for 3 straight years before last year. And last year's quarterback room just was the icing on the cake. It was awful. He had 3 straight 1,100 plus yard seasons with the worst quarterback room in the league. Yeah, and he's about to go to the best quarterback that he's ever had with an offense designed around him as the number one target with a possible competent coaching staff. Maybe. I don't know. The Carolina's never had one of those.
Yeah. Okay, so let's
But
talk
you
about what are we
okay.
betting on?
Okay, so to just let boys be boys, we made an agreement that DJ, or he thinks that DJ Moore will not be a top 12 wide receiver as long as he plays 15 games. That's my statement. He's got to play 15 games, and 10 of those games had to be with Justin Fields at quarterback. And our wager is $100.
Yeah, so not a small wager, not a handshake wager, not a ha ha beat you wager. And I want to say just for retrospect, I don't have him like rated like tremendously crazy ADP wise in Dynasty. I just don't think he has enough upside to be a wide receiver 12. I have him rated as a wide receiver 20. So I mean, he could be an easy wide receiver 2 for somebody, but I'm just not quite there on wide receiver 12. So we'll see who's laughing at the end of the season, or if the bet goes null and void based on an injury or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's that. I
We'll
can see
definitely
that.
have to come back to this week by week.
Oh yeah,
We'll
we'll
start the
keep
show
yeah.
with a weekly update.
Oh yeah, we'll do a weekly update on it.
All right, Nick. Well, I'll let you tell them what we're talking about today.
All right, we are gonna tell y'all the top 20 running backs for Dynasty Football in our personal opinions.
Yeah, and this is again Dynasty Fantasy Football, so we are, taking into account age,
Mm-hmm.
team situation, and those types of factors. Um, I'm pretty sure there's a consensus number one, so we'll just start with him,
Is
Mr.
there?
B. Well, that's what we're going to talk about, and I think for my number one, I would say is still Bijan Robinson. Would you say he's your number one? And if not, who would your number one be?
I think if Jonathan Taylor didn't have all this bull crap going on, I would
Yes.
take him over Bijan. But now I don't even know if he's going to play this year. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, it
it's just
seems to be a very, very sour situation.
I don't know. I think Bijan should be the first running back off the board if you're not taking Brees Hall.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think right now with, Brees Hall's coming off an injury. You'd think he'd be okay by about halfway through the
Mm-hmm.
season or even next year. He's a
Right.
young guy, so you think he'd be okay next year.
Mm-hmm.
And if he was healthy coming off of whatever he was going to do last year,
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably take him first. But
Mm-hmm.
to me, the second running back off the board, I think it's a toss up for me between Jonathan Taylor and Christian McCaffrey right now.
To me, Brees. If Bijan's the one, Brees is the two, and then CMC goes three for me.
Okay, okay. And I think so Jonathan Taylor would be four for you.
No,
Okay. I
not
hear you.
I don't. I just don't. I
Just
don't know
right
what the
now,
team
right now.
situation's gonna be right now. Like I don't even know if he's
Um,
gonna play.
I think for me, like I'm Bijan one, and like his situation in Atlanta, we obviously think he's going to get a big workload. I think I'm CMC two,
Mm-hmm.
just because we know that offense produces points.
Yeah.
That offense will score no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And if pieces stay healthy in that offense, we could see something very special. Does it
Yep.
ever happen? No, but you know. So let's talk about at let's say consensus third pick. Let's say Brees Hall. Let's talk about that situation a little bit. Do we feel like? I mean, obviously, we feel like it helps him that he's got Aaron Rodgers now instead of Zach Wilson at the helm.
Yeah, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. You never know how someone's going to come back off a torn ACL. I mean,
Yeah, and now I will say Brees Hall it can catch the ball,
mhm.
so I do know that Aaron Rodgers has made Aaron Jones look good for several years catching the ball out of the backfield.
But
And
what was Brees Hall's standout part of his game? His speed.
the big time plays,
Hmm. Is
bust
he
out
going to
a
lose that?
40, 50. Yeah. Yeah, you don't know that. You would assume that this year, if you are drafting him, you're drafting him to be Brees Hall 1 billion% next year.
Yeah.
Like I would say, the cuts and stuff of the nature will not be here this year. Speaking, we've talked about some past athletes that have come out and talked about serious knee injuries or serious knee surgeries and said, that the whole first year they're just sore and they're hurting all the
Right.
time. So that he's going to be going through it this year. But this is Dynasty and he's only 22 years old, so you assume that you're getting him for 6 or 7 years after the fact.
Right.
So if we take those three out of the equation, who would your four be?
Probably Saquon.
Okay, and he did sign his deal 1 year, 12 million. I think there's some incentive in there that
Hmm.
kind of makes it around 12 million. Obviously, I'm saying there's probably more incentive that makes it
Yeah.
even higher than that. But 2 years ago had a down year. Last year coming into fantasy, especially with redraft, people were kind of off him a little bit. I think I got him in like the third round.
Hmm.
And
Popped
last
off.
year he came back. Yeah, he came back as Saquon Barkley. Didn't struggle with the injuries and everything. Didn't struggle with missing time, and really, really looked good with a quarterback that was a little bit more of a weapon than he was the year before. Obviously, I
Yeah.
mean he made some improvements. He ran for a ton of yards too. Daniel Jones did.
Hmm.
They are improved as a team. Will they be as good as last year? I don't know. I'd say it could be around the same. There's possibility upside, possibility for it to go backwards. So you think Saquon at 4?
That's who I would take it for with the
I
current
would
Jonathan Taylor team situation.
I would almost take the risk on, let's say this is going to be my first running back. Let's say I took a quarterback in the first round. I would almost take a chance on Jahmyr Gibbs at
Yeah.
4 because rookie, 21 years old, uh, came out of Alabama. We've seen some good running backs come out of Alabama in the past. Going into a good offense, a well-coached ball team that is on the up and needs to score because the defense isn't quite where it needs to be yet for
Yeah.
them to, I think, be going for a championship. They've added pieces. The defensive line looks pretty good, but I do think they're going to have to score quite a bit. So I think I would take a chance on Jahmyr Gibbs as my 4.
I could see it.
So I'm
I
guessing, would Jahmyr Gibbs be your 5?
No, Jameer's probably sitting at 6. I just
There's just so much going on with Jonathan Taylor, and I
hmm
know we're about to talk about Josh Jacobs.
yeah.
hmm I think we would be talking about Josh Jacobs as, honestly, we might be talking about Jonathan Taylor at 1. Me and you talked about it. And we could be talking about Josh Jacobs as high as 3 or 4.
I will say this to you people. Do with this information what you must. I think Jonathan Taylor should be one of the first 4 running backs off the board, and I think Josh Jacobs should be one of the first 7 running backs off the board. But make sure you're not that person that takes him.
Yeah, I think it's safe to just stay away from them right now.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit better about Josh Jacobs than I do Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
The Jonathan Taylor situation, I think, is even more sour than
I I legitimately think Jonathan Taylor, whenever he gets out of Indianapolis, he won't even travel there for away games. He hates that place so much. But I mean, because literally, this is just how it went down. And like, explain it to a 5-year-old terms. He said, I want to be traded because we're not going to be winning. They said, well, no, we can't get the value out of you that we should get because you're a great running back. And he said, okay, well, then sign me to a long-term deal for what I'm worth. Then they also said no to that. And he's like, well, and this is where the fans get PO'd at how much control the team has over a player.
Yeah.
Because like he is not happy and they are not happy. And they, other than a trade, they have no way out of this.
I think the fans are a little upset at the control that the league has over the running back market in general. The guys are talented. We know that, but we also know that they have a shorter span of pure effectiveness than wide receivers or quarterbacks, or even you could probably even say tight ends on that. You know, tight ends might start a little slower, but you would think that they would stay in the game a lot longer.
Yeah.
It's sad, it really is. So I think we're kind of, we're kind of Bijan, uh, Brees Hall in there, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Jahmyr Gibbs. We've talked about Jonathan Taylor's in that range. We just talked about Josh Jacobs. I think he's probably, like you said, around the 7 area, 6, 7. And then now it kind of opens up a little bit. I think so personally. Do you think Travis Etienne is your next clear cut back?
For me personally, I would take Etienne with their current contract bullcrap going on. I would take Etienne over Jonathan Taylor and Jacobs, and probably over Jahmyr Gibbs, just because I know Etienne is legit and in a really good offense with a really good quarterback that he already, like, he played college with. He's just, I mean, they've got it going on down there in Jacksonville.
Yeah. I look at the next few running backs and I don't see anybody that I feel better about longevity wise. I see some guys that might perform better than him this year, but I don't see anybody that's going to perform better than him 3 years from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he might be the 8.
Uh,
Rounding out the top 10, who would you go at 9?
Eckler. I don't care how old he is.
Eckler.
He's going to produce crazy touchdowns and he's going to get crazy PPR points.
I think he's maybe got, this year and maybe 2 more.
Yeah. I
Maybe
was thinking
more
2 years.
Yeah. No, if you are in a situation where your first 2 rounds have went great and you feel like, I'm not just, usually the first 2 rounds you're going to have 2 really good guys anyway. And
Right.
let's say that you've planned like, hey, I might take a chance on going for it this year. And I mean, Eckler would be a great guy to grab in around the 3rd, 4th-ish. I mean, like if he makes it to the 4th, that'd be crazy, but
yeah. If he makes it to the 4th, you better grab him.
Yeah.
Just because what you'll get out of him for the next couple of years is insane.
Yeah, and I'll pull up Sleeper and I'll pull up a past draft just to kind of give an idea of where he's been going.
He normally goes
drafts.
in that 3-4 range for us in our mock drafts.
Okay.
I don't think I've seen him go later than the 4th.
Let's see here. Eckler. Yeah, he went middle of 3rd in the last one that I did. And I think number 10, well, you tell me who you think at 10. I've been going first a lot.
I think just because of age, Kenneth Walker. I put him over Tony Pollard because, I mean, he's 4 years younger. I don't know. I think Kenneth Walker is just going to be better long term for a dynasty league than Tony Pollard is.
Yeah. I think this is where you make a decision right here on, am I thinking long term? And he was a top 5 back last year. I mean, like, we talk about long term, he's 22 years old, but he could help you win it this year if everything works out, and if, a rookie that they drafted that we will talk about in a later show doesn't take a bunch of, work from him around the goal line, is where I think he might take some work. I think it's close. You mentioned Pollard. I think it's close right here between Kenneth Walker and Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb, just because of age, is a little bit lower for me, and he does not have any kind of pass catching ability. He does not catch the ball.
Early reports out of camp have been, Kareem Hunt's gone.
Yeah.
So early reports out of camp have been either their backup, Jerome Ford, I think is his name, is going to get some pass catching work, or it's just going to be Nick Chubb all the time. It's going to be Nick Chubb on Monday, Nick Chubb on Tuesday, just all week long in the Browns. And listen, his workload, the way that he has ran the ball the past couple years, I feel like he ages out quicker than some of these other
Yeah.
guys. So, because he's a power back,
Right.
he really is. I mean, he can run over you and then run 60 yards for the touchdown. So, I still have him around that area. I don't mind taking Kenneth Walker before him. I think I have taken Kenneth Walker before him in several mocks, but I wouldn't mind the Nick Chubb pull if you're thinking, man, I can go all in right here.
Yeah.
Um, so I think they're around that area, and I do think that Pollard's right there with them.
Mhm.
I'm interested to see how the Dallas backfield works out. I just don't know who they're going to bring in to complement Tony Pollard because Tony Pollard last year, was getting the majority of the work a couple weeks when Zeke was out,
Right. And was popping
and
off.
he was popping off. But he also said, man, he said I'm used to my 10 to 15 touches, and that is it. He said I am gassed, like and he's every time he goes out there, he's absolutely destroying the defense. But he said in the fourth quarter, I had nothing. He said
Right.
I had absolutely nothing. He said I was scared that I was going to get hurt. So a lot of guys aren't meant to carry the full load. If they could have a couple guys just as change of pace backs, maybe go out there for one or two plays, uh, every now and then, that'd be good. But I just don't think what they have right now is set up to do that.
Yeah.
So he's 11 for me. I'm assuming you have him ahead of Nick Chubb.
I
Do you have him at 10?
I probably would have. I thought I had Kenneth Walker at 10.
I thought you had Kenneth Walker at 9. No, yeah, you might have had him at 10.
No,
You
I
might
had
have had him at 10.
Eckler at 9. I
Eckler
think.
at 9. Okay,
Yeah.
Eckler's 9. Kenneth Walker's 10.
And then TP, Chubb, then probably Najee.
Okay, Najee Harris. We're not looking at great yards per carry out of Najee, but he's a pounder. He's a
Mhm.
bruiser. He's gonna just keep coming back and keep coming back. And last year, we went in thinking that he was going to be hurt for the majority of the year, was dealing with a steel plate in his cleat basically to protect his foot. And then finally he takes it out and he starts improving pretty rapidly. What do you think about the Steelers situation in general?
I think the Steelers suck.
Do you think Kenny Pickett takes any step forward whatsoever?
This isn't even me being a Steelers hater. Kenny Pickett sucks. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not good. Like he's got talent around him. Like, he was one of the few guys as a rookie that gets to come in with an actual fairly talented offense around him, and he didn't do jack shit with it.
Yeah,
Because I mean, he had Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, Freiermuth, and Najee all on his offense, and he could not do anything.
yeah. So it'll be there. This is a make or break year for several quarterbacks, and I think that Kenny Pickett is one of them. You
Mac
don't
Jones
want
is
to
another
see.
one.
I do think it's a good idea to take Najee Harris,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you can get him as your second. Like if he's your second running back, you feel really good
Mm-hmm.
because he's just going to get a ton of carries.
Yeah.
That's just the truth. Um, so I would honestly put him ahead of the next couple guys that we're going to talk about as well. Um, After Najee, in my personal opinion, I think it has to be Ramondre Stevenson. We've seen, and he
I was
plays
thinking
for a
something else.
team. Okay, Ramondre plays for a team that is kind of like a Najee situation where that quarterback is going to have to make a big step, just like you said with Mac Jones, and I just think they're going to be leaning on the explosiveness of Ramondre Stevenson. He's been in the backfield with Damian Harris. He's not been able to have the full brunt of the work, and he has shown flashes of being really, really good.
Yeah.
I think if there is a year to take him and capitalize on upside, it is now. If you
Yeah.
don't take him now and he pops off, then it's going to cost you. It's going to
Right.
cost because he's going to have 3 or 4 more years of great work.
Right.
Who would you say instead of Ramondre?
Derrick Henry, because of what you'll get for the next couple of years.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he really is like maybe this year and one more, and then
Mm-hmm.
unless he's going to take a cut in workload, he needs to pack it in
Yeah.
because he's been a superstar. Derrick Henry is a superstar, and I think he will be pretty much a superstar until he decides to hang him up.
Looking at this right here, he's got the 4th easiest strength of schedule for running backs this year.
Yeah,
That's something to look out for, y'all.
It is. It is. And you know, with Derrick Henry, sometimes you get that boom bust where Derrick Henry could pop off for 180 yards and 3 touchdowns,
Mm-hmm.
but he could also end up with 40 yards. You
No
know, but where
touchdowns.
the Titans just cannot move the ball
Right.
whatsoever because they'll get stuffed 2 run plays and then they can't throw it.
Right.
So, you know, Tannehill
But
has
Will Levis is here for.
boy, get the mayonnaise ready. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I would take Derrick Henry after Ramondre. So I don't even know what number we are on right now.
We're at like 15.
8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, so we're on number 15. That Derrick Henry would be 15 in my opinion, but you said he would be 14, and then would you make Ramondre your
Yeah,
15?
probably. And then
Okay.
I'd probably go Javonte Williams 16.
Okay. And Javonte Williams is an interesting case too, where he is coming off of an injury as well. So in a new coaching situation with Sean Payton. And we know Sean Payton has coached some pretty good running backs at the Saints in the past. So I don't know. We think Javonte's the guy. We think he's got a lot
And
of upside.
like
We're waiting to see it.
the thing with Javonte, like he's still only 23. Like and he didn't play it like at all last year, did he? He was hurt all year, wasn't he?
I think he started out the year, but got hurt pretty quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Not
I
mistaken.
mean, there's a lot of upside there. He's got a good strength of schedule for running backs. 23 years old in a new offense with one of the best offensive minds in football. I think if you can get him for your second running back, that's a good shot to take.
So in 2022, I'll give you some 2022 stats real quick. He played 4 games. 47 attempts, 204 rushing yards, 16 receptions in 4 games. So 4 receptions a game average. That's pretty good. You like that. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, baby. You like that. Had 76 receiving yards, but coming off of a torn ACL, so we're in a situation like Breece Hall where we think maybe it could be half the season. It could be a slower year in general, and then you could get what Javonte is about. But he's 23. Same situation where Breece Hall's 22. You know that you should have 6 good years after this.
Right.
After him at 15, I think it could go a lot of ways. So I'd be interested to see who you think at 16. I know who I think.
Dameon Pierce.
Okay, you think Dameon Pierce? I was going to go ahead and go with your running back.
Who? Mixon?
Joe Mixon. Because for every bit of negative publicity that Joe Mixon has got to end up at 16, he has been a very consistent back for the past several years. He's 27, so we don't think he's quite at the age where he should be just absolutely falling off. He has been a strong back. P. Ryan's not there anymore to take any kind of work. Do you think that Chase Brown honestly takes serious work away from Joe Mixon?
I think Joe Mixon took up until last year, he had been a pretty consistent back, but he sucked last year. He was 3.9 a carry last year, only scored 70 touchdowns, and 5 of those were in one game. Only scored 7 touchdowns, 5 of those were in one game.
Yeah, and he played 14 games, so didn't have a full schedule. Only had 814 yards, had 60 receptions though in 14 games. Not bad at all. It's a little over four a game. It's hard. I look at what he has been, and I understand taking a chance on some of these guys, like especially, you were saying that you think Dameon Pierce is your guy. He's 23 years old. You think he's got a lot more upside toward the future. So I don't blame you whatsoever for going Dameon Pierce there. And I tell you, I still think I'm probably going Joe Mixon in the 16 area. Would Joe Mixon be your next back?
Joe Mixon's probably sitting around 20 for me.
It's around 20. So you got several more out of this little category right here that you think is ahead.
Because of the step back Mixon took last year, I think there are some young guys that I think are just worth taking a chance on ahead of him.
Yeah.
And Dameon Pierce is one of those guys.
Okay. So who would you have after Damian Pierce?
I would probably go Miles Sanders. I
I
would
like
go.
I like Miles Sanders. Obviously in Carolina now, Miles Sanders with a group that had ran the ball really good last year
Mhm.
and had kind of a you don't think of Deontay Foreman and Chuba Hubbard as any it backs. Miles Sanders is supposed to be an it back.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be a him back. Now he was with the Eagles, very good offense last year.
Great
So
offensive line.
we'll see. I mean, we will see, but I mean, I'm taking a lot of shares of him. I hope I
Yeah.
get him. Me personally, being a Panthers fan. So I would probably have. I'd probably go Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, and then maybe bring in Damian Pierce. Me personally,
Where are you putting Dobbins?
they've got they got their contract situation trying to figure out. He's coming off of not, you know, a lot of injury issue and concern. Only played 8 games last year. Only had 7 receptions in 8 games, so that really hurts. 90, but he was in limited work. He only had 92 attempts in 8 games. I mean, that's pretty good, but that's not a bulk, work. They're
Right.
always going to be committee. They added Melvin Gordon recently. That kind of tells me that they're not sure about Dobbins and they're not sure about Gus Edwards. And you know that Gus Edwards is going to get some work too. So only 8 games and had 520 yards though. I think that
Yeah.
speaks rushing yards, just rushing yards. I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
I would much rather have Damian Pierce over J.K. Dobbins
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I'd rather have Joe Mixon. I'd rather have Miles Sanders. Then we start thinking about J.K. Dobbins, in my opinion. If my draft is starting to look like it's more toward the future, I might go J.K. Dobbins. If my draft is starting to look more toward the now, I would pick up Aaron Jones
Yeah.
easily. Not even a question. I think
Is Aaron Jones still Aaron Jones without Rodgers though?
I think so. I think he'd be even more Aaron Jones now in the next probably 2 years or so. Like if Jordan Love is the quarterback right now, there is nothing better for a new quarterback than somebody to dump the ball off to. I don't think Jordan Love is the tuck and run type, so we won't have to worry about that. So if he's not tucking and running, he's going to be dumping it off.
Yeah.
So I'd say he's around running back 19 for me. J.K. Dobbins or Aaron Jones right in there.
Yeah.
I don't like. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm not big on Cam Akers. I know what we saw at the end of last year. I'm
Yeah.
not big on Cam Akers. He
I
does not.
was.
He doesn't crack my top 20. Rashad White. I don't know. I don't. I just don't know about Rashad White. We will see. Leonard Fournette is not there anymore. This is the telltale year. If you want to get in now, get in now. But if
Um,
you want to wait and then maybe just give up some future draft capital if he sparks at the beginning of the year, also not a bad idea. I tell you who I want to slip into my top 20 just because he's a really good back. We just don't know who he's playing for yet, and that is Dalvin Cook.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I would have him in my top 20 if he would sign with the team.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be a compliment back. If you're signing Dalvin Cook as a compliment back, dude, the Cowboys. Let's say the Cowboys signed Dalvin Cook and they went with Tony Pollard and Dalvin Cook. Wow, that would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be
Let's
something.
say the Saints signed Dalvin Cook to kind of hold over and be a 1-2 punch with
Jamal Williams
Jamal. Well, you got Jamal
or
Williams
Kamara.
there,
Yeah,
but they
that's
could
two
sign
receiving
him.
backs.
They could sign him for the first 3 weeks, and if it works out, they sign him. First 3 weeks he plays while Kamara's out, because it was 3 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then let's say Jamal Williams is getting overshadowed by rookie Kendre Miller, or Kendre, that's his name, right? I think it is
I
Kendre.
think something like that.
Yeah, and look, you cut Jamal Williams.
No, they just signed him to like a 3-year deal, didn't they?
I, I'm just saying.
I think that's a crackpot dream.
Well, I mean, they were just talking to Kareem Hunt. They were a front runner for Kareem Hunt until the Colts come in and swooped in, and now they're a front runner for Kareem Hunt. So, I mean, if the Saints are signing Kareem Hunt, maybe they're going to sign him to a 1-year deal, then cut him later on. I don't know, but you know, if they think that I don't think he can get the job done by himself. Jamal Williams can't get the job done by himself.
Yeah.
So, they obviously either they're not liking where Kendre Miller is, or I mean, I know what they signed, I know what they gave him, and I know what he did last year as far as rush yards, as far as touchdowns and everything like that, but he's not being signed as a one. He's being signed as a compliment.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's just weird that they're looking elsewhere. I like what Jamal Williams did last year. He done great for my fantasy team. I appreciate you. But I don't know. I don't know where Dalvin Cook will end up. I don't think everybody thinks Miami. I really have a hard time seeing Miami because they've already got their role player backs in Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. and they've got their rookie in A-Chain who's going to be working his way up. So I don't see why they would go Cook unless, Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. both very apt to get an injury. I mean, if something was to happen in training camp in the next week or so, I could see Cook going in. But
Yeah.
well, that is about it on my top 20.
Yeah.
If it is for you, do you want to throw out a name as an honorable mention? Like maybe somebody that's honorable mention for you? I know we just talked about Dalvin Cook. Not a sleeper
Um,
per se, but an honorable mention for your top 20.
Probably Charbonnet from Seattle because I really like him.
Like I said earlier, I do think it could be goal line work for
Yeah.
Charbonnet. And if Geno Smith can still move the ball like he did last year, Kenneth Walker's healthy, they got the receiver group, could be a lot of touchdowns.
Right.
So I like that look. I don't think people should completely give up on Alvin Kamara just yet as well.
I wouldn't
I'd
give up
say
on
I'd
him.
say last year we saw a big step back in production, but I think, you get some time off, you clear up some injury concern and everything like that, and then you get whatever's hanging over your head out of the way, you might have a little bit better performance this year just to kind of wind down his career because he
Right.
is 28 years old, so we are getting there. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
If you have a running back that you would like to, us to talk more about on a future show, maybe a sleeper show or something like that, make sure you comment down below with that running back. Nick, do you
Yeah.
have anything for the people?
No, nothing other than like the video, subscribe. It's free. Both of those things are free. It takes about 5 seconds to do it.
It's free. And
Uh,
how many subscribers are we going for before the
we're
beginning of the season?
we're going for 100 subscribers before week 1. I think we're at 64 at the time we're recording this video. Help us out, y'all. Come on, it's free. It don't take any time at all, hardly. Thanks
No,
for
wait,
watching.
thanks
Oh.
for watching.